So we'll be discussing the accounting concepts and principles. So this will be our third topic. Pero sa first topic natin kasi, we already discussed yung mga concepts um, na naisesend ko sa inyo. Right? So for this lesson, we'll be focusing primarily on the conceptual framework. So the conceptual framework this describes the basic concepts that underlie the preparation and presentation of financial statements for external users. Okay, so this will be yung conceptual framework will be our basis in preparing the financial statements. Okay, so the conceptual framework covers the following. First is the objective of financial statements, the qualitative characteristics, the elements of financial statements, and the concepts of capital and capital maintenance. First is we have the objective of the general purpose financial reporting. So the objective of the general purpose financial reporting is to provide financial information about the reporting entity that is useful to present and potential investors, lenders, and other creditors who use that information to make decisions about buying, selling, or holding equity or debt instruments, and providing or setting loans or other forms of business. Okay, so basically, the general purpose financial reporting's objective is to provide information about the for the primary users. Okay, so who are these primary users? It is the present and potential investors and the lenders and creditors. Okay, so these are the primary users. So the primary users use this information in order to make decisions. Okay, so these decisions may include the uh, selling of holding equity, or the or debt instruments. Okay, or another decision is either to provide or sell loans or other forms of credit. Okay, so they will be deciding kung mag invest ba sila or kung magpapautang ba sila sa business na ito. And they make decisions using the uh, financial general purpose financial statements. But this doesn't mean na ito lang ang ginagamit ng mga primary users in making decisions. Right? So they use many information aside from the general purpose financial statements. But yung general purpose financial uh, reporting's goal is to help these users in making decisions. Okay? So in order for a financial information to be useful, it must have qualitative characteristics. Okay? The qualitative characteristics of useful financial reporting identify the types of information that are likely to be useful to users in making decisions about the reporting entity on the basis of information in its financial reporting. Okay? So, likely to be most useful ang mga kapag merong mga qualitative characteristics ang financial information. So, what are the qualitative characteristics? Okay, so first is we have the fundamental characteristics. Uh, we have two kasi. We have the fundamental and the enhancing characteristics. Okay, so first let's discuss the fundamental characteristics. The fundamental qualitative characteristics include the relevance and faithful representation. Okay, in order for a financial information to be useful, it must both be relevant and faithfully represented. It is not enough for it to be relevant pero hindi naman faithfully represented, or faithfully represented nga pero hindi naman siya relevant, right? So there it should both be relevant and faithfully represented. Okay, so first is we have the or relevance. Okay, relevant financial information is capable of making a difference in the decision made by users. Okay, kapag an information is capable for it to be is to uh, capable to make a difference in the decisions of the uh, users, then it is relevant. Okay, so relevance has to financial information must have uh, two values in order for it to be relevant. It should have a predictive value and a confirmatory value. Okay, so an information has predictive value if it can be used to make predictions about the future. Okay, it should be useful for us in order to make assumptions about the business in the future. It should be it should help us in forecasting future events. While confirmatory value naman, an information has confirmatory value if it provides feedback about previous evaluations. Okay, so kapag an information can provide feedback or it can confirm uh, previous predictions or forecasts, it is said to have confirmatory value. Okay? Ang predictive value is kapag meron tayong, kapag ang information can be used to make predictions, ang confirmatory value is if the information can confirm these previous predictions. Okay? Relevance also includes the materiality. Okay? Materiality is dependent on the size and nature of every business. Pero ang materiality kasi, it is defined as if omitting it or misstating it could influence decisions that users make on the basis of financial information. Okay? So kapag material ang isang information, kapag if we omit this information, it would if affect the it would affect the decisions of the users. Okay? So so like I said, ang materiality is dependent on the size and nature of the business. Ang material sa isang business may not be material sa other business. Okay, for example, ang 100 pesos is material sa isang sari-sari store, but it is not material in a big company. Right? So materiality is just relative. So next is we have the faithful representation. Okay? A faithfully represented information uh, must uh, must have these three characteristics. It should be complete, should have completeness, it should be neutral, and it should be free from error. Okay? So it should all have these three characteristics for it to be faithfully represented. Right? So first is the completeness. So yung every information should be reported for it to be complete. Siyempre. So kapag hindi complete, kapag there are information that are missing, of course it will be it will mislead the users, hence it will not be faithfully represented. Right? Next is we have the neutrality. So an information should not be biased, right? It should be objective. Okay? So kapag bias na ang isang information, it favors a certain side, it is not faithfully represented. It should be neutral or it should not be biased. And plus, it should be free from error. Right? So, kahit complete pa siya, kahit hindi siya biased, pero kung may error naman, of course, it will not be considered faithfully represented. So, there should be no errors or omissions for the reported information. Okay, so those are the fundamental characteristics. right? The relevance and faithful representation. So next is we have yung enhancing characteristics. So these characteristics enhance the uh, usefulness of the information to the users. Okay, so hindi naman siya required pero it enhances the usefulness to the users. First is we have the comparability. Next is verifiability, timeliness, and last is understandability. An information is comparable if it enables the users to identify and understand similarities and differences, of course, in the items, right? So, so kapag it an information is more useful if it is comparable, meaning pwede nating i-compare from previous periods to the present period about regarding a specific information. And for example, kung pwede nating i-compare ang amount ng profit ng isang business compared sa last year, it is more useful compared naman sa uh, kapag tinitingnan lang natin ang profit for this year, right? Comparability also co- covers the co- it also covers yung other businesses, right? So an information should be comparable not only for previous periods but also to different businesses. So kapag ang isang business is relatively the same to another business, pero that business is performing significantly better than the business or this business, there should be there should be there should be an there should be differences between the businesses. For siyempre hindi naman magkakaroon ng uh, difference sa mga profits kung wala namang difference sa pinagmamanage ng mga business, right? So there should be comparability uh, between the uh, informations. Next is verifiability. Okay, verifiability helps assure users that information represents faithfully the economic phenomena it purports to represent. Okay, so verifiability means not that that information could be verifiable, meaning it could be correct ay check kung tama ba or accurate ba ang information if if presented with the same information, right? So, for example, ang profit, right? Ang profit is verifiable kapag kapag kung present natin ang income at expenses is sa ibang mga tao, they will come up with the same amount of profit, right? So, different persons uh, will come to the same conclusion. If different persons come to the same conclusion using the same information, then that information is said to be verifiable. Okay, next is timeliness. Okay, information should be available to decision makers in time to be capable of influencing their decisions, right? So, syempre, it should be timely. Okay? Syempre, di naman di na magiging useful ang isang information kapag masyadong late or masyadong early uh, present ang isang information, right? It should be timely. That's why it's called timeliness. And of course, last is understandability. Okay, presented information should be clear and concise. This would so basically it is self-explanatory naman. It should be understandable, right? So hindi naman magiging useful yan kapag hindi siya understandable. Hmm. Okay? So those are the qualitative characteristics under the conceptual framework. Next is next topic under the conceptual framework is yung elements of financial statements. Okay? So we have two elements of financial statements. First elements are those that relate to the measurement of financial position, while the second elements relate to the measurement of financial performance, right? So the elements that relate to the measurement of financial position are the assets, liabilities, and equity. Yung assets, these are yung mga bagay na meron tayong right or we have ownership. We have ownership, right? So, for example, cash, kung sa atin ang cash, these are assets to us. Kung meron tayong mga kotse, meron tayong mga buildings, these are assets to us if we have the right or we have the ownership over these assets, of course. Next is we have the liabilities. Liabilities, these are the obligations of an entity, right? So, ito yung mga utang ng isang entity. Right? So, kung meron tayong biniling inventories at hindi natin binayaran, this is a liability kasi nga babayaran natin in the future. Kung kung meron tayong services na di pa natin na-render at kailangan natin i-render in the future, these are liabilities, right? So, mga liabilities, not necessarily na pera lang uh, ang mawawala sa atin. Pwede mawala sa atin ang mga properties natin or pwedeng mawala sa atin ang mga or pwedeng mag-render tayo ng mga services natin. So basta mga utang mo yun, these are liabilities. Okay? Last is the equity. Equity is just a residual term. Equity is just the balance of deducting the assets, of deducting the liabilities from the assets, right? So, meaning assets less liabilities equals the equity. Or, you can also derive that equation with assets is equal to liabilities from equity. Okay? Another way to explain things is looking at it this way. So, assets, di ba assets yung mga pagmamay-ari ng business. Okay? So, itong mga pagmamay-ari ng business, it can come from two sources. It can either be provided by the owners, okay? Pwedeng manggaling sa mga owners or pwedeng manggaling sa mga creditors or pwedeng inutang lang natin, right? So, yung mga assets na nanggaling sa mga creditors or utang, these are these are represented by the liabilities. While yung mga assets naman na nanggaling sa mga owners, these are represented by the equity. Okay? Another note is ang income ng isang business or ang net profit ng isang business is mapupunta siya sa equity. Okay? Kasi nga, kapag merong profit ang isang business, siyempre, property yan ng owner. Kaya, sa equity pupunta yun. Okay? So, owner equity represents hmm, the assets coming from the owners, while the liabilities represents the creditors. Okay? Next is the elements that relate to the measurement of financial performance. Okay? So, this, first let's go back. Kasi financial position ang tawag dito. Kasi nga, what is our position? What is the position of the business financially? So, ano yung position ng isang business at a certain point of time? Right? So, ano yung mga pagmamay-ari nito? While ito naman yung financial performance, Kasi financial performance kasi nga, ano yung performance ng isang business for a given period of time. Okay, so for a given year, paano yung performance ng business? Nagkaroon ba sila ng profit or nagkaroon ba sila ng loss? Okay, so the elements that represent the financial performance are the income and the expenses. Okay, so yung income, this includes yung mga revenue at mga gains. Okay, yung revenue are those though yung revenue is yung income natin na nanggaling sa ordinary uh, course of the business. So ito yung mga ordinary na ginagawa ng business. So for example, kapag ang business natin is nagre-render tayo ng mga services, for example is nagre-repair tayo ng mga cellphone, so these are revenues. So kung ang business naman natin is nagba-buy and sell, so the income from selling merchandise is called revenue. While yung gains are yung mga income natin na nanggaling sa mga hindi normal course of the business. So, sa mga hindi ginagawa ng business normally. For example, kapag binenta natin ang uh, equipment natin, siyempre, kung ang business ay hindi nagbebenta ng equipment as normally, the income coming from the equipment is called a gain, okay, not a revenue. So, pero, though kung ano man yon, it is still included at the income. Yung mga expenses naman, ito naman yung mga gastos or ito yung mga gastos ng business, right? So, an example is salaries expense, yung mga binayaran natin for the salaries ng employees. Another example is yung mga expenses for the electricity bill, uh, water bill, yung mga telephone bills, though these are also called the utility bills. Okay? So, these are the elements that represent that measure the financial performance. Okay? So, ang mga elements na yon, it can be measured in four ways. Okay? It can be measured at the historical cost, current cost, realizable value, and the present value. Okay? So, yung historical cost, ito yung amount na pinambili natin in the past. Okay? So, kung ano man yung amount na or yung cost to acquire the asset, it is the historical value. For example, we have an equipment, okay? Meron tayong equipment. So, 5 years ago, we we acquired the equipment for 5,000, right? So, the historical cost of the equipment is 5,000 kasi nga yun yung amount na ginasto natin to acquire the equipment at the past, right? So, next is the current cost. Yung current cost naman, ito yung value ng isang asset kung bibili tayo ng bago. Okay, so for yung example natin na equipment, 5 years ago, 5,000 pinambili natin. Pero ngayon, kapag bibili tayo ng bago, it will cost us 3,000. Okay, so the current cost of the equipment is 3,000. Kasi nga ito yung cost na magagasto natin if we are going to buy a new asset. Next is the realizable value. It is the cost na makukuha natin kapag ibebenta natin ito at a proper with using proper procedures, right? So yung equipment, na example natin, kapag ibebenta natin today ang equipment na to, we will be pwede nating ibenta ito for 2,000, right? So yung 2,000 na yon na makukuha natin kung ibebenta natin ngayon ang equipment, that is the realizable value kasi ito yung pwede natin makuha kapag ibebenta natin ang isang asset. At kapag, of course, using proper procedures. Next is the present value. Okay? Yung present value naman, ito yung discounted amounts ng income na ma-generate ng isang asset. Right? So, in our example, yung equipment na binili natin 5 years ago will generate income of uh, 1,000 per year, right? So, dahil binili natin ito 5 years ago, nagkakaroon tayo ng extra income of 1,000 per year. So, yung 1,000 per year, kapag i-discount mo yon, for example, kapag diniscount natin ang 1,000 per year, ang value nito for today is 2,300. So, yung discounted value na yon na ma-generate na income ng equipment is the present value. Okay? So, the last is yung concept of capital and capital maintenance. Right? So, we have the two concepts. We have the financial concept of capital and the physical concept of capital. Yung financial concept, it is adopted by most enterprise in preparing the financial statements. Okay? Yung financial is commonly used by enterprises. Under financial concept, capital is synonymous with the net assets or equity of the enterprise. A profit is earned only if the financial amount of the net assets at the end of the period exceeds the financial amount of the net assets at the beginning of the period. Okay, so kung ang net assets natin, meaning assets less liabilities, okay? So yung assets natin, i-deduct natin ang mga utang natin. So kung ang net assets natin is bigger at the end of the year compared to the beginning of the year, we will be recording profit under the financial concept of capital. Pero yung physical concept of capital naman, uh, capital is regarded as the productive capacity of the enterprise. Okay? So, for example, a profit is earned only if the physical productive capacity of the enterprise at the end of the year is bigger than the physical productive capacity of the enterprise at the beginning of the year. Okay, so, for example, ang isang business is nakakagawa ng 5,000 books per day or per month, okay? 5,000 books per month, right? At the beginning of the year, the business can generate 5,000 books per month. If at the end of the year, the business can earn it can produce 6,000 books per month, it is considered a profit under the physical concept of capital. Okay, so yun lang naman ang pinagkaiba nila. Yung physical concept is uh, more focused on yung capacity ng isang business na mag-produce. While yung financial concept is more concerned with yung financial value ng mga assets natin. Okay, so yeah. So yun yung so that will end our discussion for the accounting concepts and principles. Okay, so meron naman ako i-send. Just read that for further, for extra information, right? So that will be all, class. Thank you for listening. Bye.